Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live edition of Legends from the Past and the Future show. Yeah, I am Armand and my boy Roger. How you doing, Raj?
Doing good, brother. Excited about the show. Got number one
Yeah,
stunner coming up.
all right, man. That's what I'm talking about, man. I'm looking forward to it. I even received a text message this morning to ask this brother a question, so I'm eager to find out what his answer is, man. So, how was your day today, bro?
Yeah, well, I went and hit that gym and then the gym crowded because them kids in there. But after that, I came on home and just chilled out. Worked on my other car, my 300. And then
Yeah.
the grandson, he booked. He went to Philly. He took my other car and went to Philly. He took the BB, the Volkswagen.
Okay. Well, I'm excited, man. I'm excited, and I got an idea, Roger, man. I think we're gonna get the audience involved. We're getting close to another serious milestone. Once we get there, I think we should leave it up to the audience to decide whether to have a party or do a Legends cruise or whatever they think they may want to do. What you think about that, man?
Well, I ain't big on being in the water for a week, but that's why I joined the army. But we let them decide. But we could do a white party on the boat downtown
That's
Annapolis. That's
Come
tight.
on. That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
We can
yeah.
do that too, bro. We can do that too.
And then
But
you
you
ain't got
know,
to worry about more people could come, and you ain't got to worry about well, I ain't got no money, with all that good stuff, and they ain't kicking out $2,000-3,000 or whatever it costs to go on the ship. Go
yeah,
downtown Annapolis, get on the Harbor Queen, go all the way around, or we could do the one in Baltimore. The one in Baltimore is better. When I was at DTRA, we did that
yeah,
Baltimore. Man, we was
yeah.
on the water for like 3 hours. Man, we had a great time.
Well,
Yeah,
both Baltimore and DC is outstanding, bro. Both of them are outstanding. DC takes you to New York and back. I'm with you, bro. Whatever they decide. But we got a powerhouse guest tonight, brother. You know,
powerhouse,
yes, sir, and you know him well. Yeah,
extremely well.
yeah. So without further ado, man, beating the storm so we don't have any problems. Let's bring him to the stage. Deja.
Welcome to the show. Today's guest is Thomas Van Dyke, a retired U.S. military veteran with over 20 years of service across the Navy, Marine Corps, and Army. He's the founder of Another Approach Music, a professional touring artist, and a BMI-affiliated songwriter and publisher. Thomas has also led major booking agencies, holds a 6th-degree black belt in martial arts, and is a licensed financial services professional in Alabama. Let's dive in and welcome this multi-talented powerhouse, Thomas Van Dyke.
Put your right foot over your left, and niggas just
Ah,
Hey,
my
Thomas
brother.
Dyke, how you doing, my brother?
All right, man. I got the two most horrendous warriors in the military. Yeah.
Hey,
Woo.
well, welcome to the show, man. It's an honor to have you on the show tonight.
Well,
Honor to have
thank you. Good to
you.
be here. Good to be here.
And before we go down memory lane, man, I gotta welcome my brother Lenny Knight to the show. Welcome to the show, class Mike. Al,
Classmate.
yes, and Roger, this number one stunner, man. Ren D. Lib, man. She is always there with us, man. Always there.
Good people.
Welcome to the show, Benjamin. I don't want to mess up your last name.
Trying.
Welcome to the show, and Silk. Simplify, my brother, always faithful. Welcome to the show, my brother.
That's one of your boys, T. Marines.
Come on. Look, ah,
hey, so what we do, Thomas? We travel back down memory lane, then we come forward, man. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself. Where were you born and raised?
well, actually, I was born East Side, Baltimore.
Boy.
Yeah, Baltimore, Maryland. Be more careful area. I was raised East Baltimore and also Cherry Hill. I don't know if you remember Cherry Hill.
Oh yeah,
Cherry Hill.
And I grew up Emerson Village, Walbrook Junction. I was all over the place. But yeah, Baltimore. Be more careful is where I was raised, and got my Hard Knocks University there.
Hey, Cherry Hill, man, you got to fight your way in and fight your way out, man. I'm very
Yep.
familiar with Cherry Hill.
Oh,
Because it's
yeah,
one way in, one way out. That's why.
that's right.
Yeah,
But you know,
yeah.
I miss all the good crabs, even though I don't eat crabs and all that kind of stuff anymore. But that's where you get your best codfish cakes, your crabs, steak, fish, the whole gablam, you know?
I miss that steak fish.
Well, but tell us,
Every time I come home, I get steak fish.
what were some of the things you done while growing up, bro? Were you actively involved in sports? Tell us
Okay.
about something you've done.
Good question. Because, you know, a lot of times, it, stop me if I get too long, but, you know, a lot of times people think that sports is the only thing.
Mhm.
But with me, I was kind of different. When everyone else was out there playing sports and, you know, doing this and doing that in high school and everything, the closest I've ever came was on a wrestling team, of course, in high school,
Okay.
JV, you know. But I was into music more. When everybody else was out there playing basketball and baseball and football, I was the one that's doing music or martial arts. That's what I was doing. That was my thing, you know. And of course, running the women, you know.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, we know that.
Hey, you don't do 20 plus years in the army without doing that, my brother.
Hey, bro, you gotta get your experience somewhere, right?
That's right. You got that right. Hey. So, where did you attend school at?
Well, for elementary school, I attended over there off of Garrison Boulevard at a school called Windsor Hills Elementary, school number 87.
Okay.
Um, for junior high, I was at Garrison for a while, which is called Garrison High School. I don't know what they call middle schools nowadays. For high school, I was at Mervo and Carver for a while, you know,
Okay.
because they were back then. We had vocational tech schools. You know, a lot of people went to vocational tech schools to learn yourself a trade, which is what people don't do now much.
Mhm.
So yeah, that was my deal right there.
Did you attend college?
Yeah, but mostly when I went into the military first, I went to University of Maryland for a little bit before I went in the military. But most of my stuff was done external education programs, and you know what soldiers do. We go to school after hours, you know,
Mm-hmm.
when I wasn't doing music again, you know.
Awesome, awesome. Now,
I had
uh,
some good influences when I was coming up though
about
in
that,
Maryland.
who did you look up to as maybe a mentor, or who
Yeah,
influenced you most?
yeah. I hate name dropping because a lot of times, you know, you don't like to name drop because some people are running, believe it or not, they're running. They don't want nobody to remember their name or even know who they are. But I had some good people that were involved with programs like Job Corps back in the day. There was a Job Corps, Baltimore had Job Corps centers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this brother named Clay Sands. He was a martial arts instructor. And that's where I got a lot of my um, mentoring from,
Awesome.
because, he believed in peaceful negotiations of problems, and, don't always pull your fists up all the time, even though we had to.
Yeah,
And as I was coming up, mostly that's what we did. We went out in the street and we fought, right?
absolutely,
We
absolutely.
even though we were buddied a couple of hours after that, but we still didn't mind pulling up the fist. Another one was Dorothy Thomas, and everybody who knows anybody in elementary school would know a Dorothy Thomas, and she
Mm,
was elementary school teachers. It's just like a drill sergeant. You always remember your drill sergeant. You always remember, people who had influence over you, um, when you've been coming up in school.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
and of course, I had family members that really influenced me a lot, like my uncles. I had one, I think, that influenced me to go into the Marine Corps. He got mad when he found out that I went into the Marine Corps because he was a Marine, but this
Yeah.
was during the time the Vietnam War was basically just letting up, and he was just returning. And then he found out that his nephew went in the Marine Corps. He said, if I would have came to Paris Island and beat your butt, that type of thing. Because you do that for, But people like that, hey, you look at them, you say, hey, wow, that's magnificent, you know.
Awesome, awesome. But you know, before I pass it over to Roger, you
Mhm.
know, I'm going to talk briefly about the text that I received this morning, and the question was, uh, uh, well, actually, I'm going to ask you off the air about it. You know, he wants me to do it off the air, and that's fine. You know, I don't want to, you know, and we talked briefly about that this morning. Okay, all right.
Okay. Can
So,
I
so
address can I address that though?
you did.
Because I thought about it a little bit more, and I would like to readdress that.
Okay,
If
well,
it's a,
go ahead. Go ahead.
um, my label, my company, my organization right now is not per se looking for new talent. However, some of the organizations that I am working with as a mentor
Mhm.
are looking to bring on new artists, more so artists that are original artists, um, to try to help them to get the business side of the music career and aspirations together. And I say that because I wanted to address if anybody's looking to try to get a contract or something like that, or come on board or whatever. I say yes if you wanting to make sure that your business is tight first, because we have a lot of talent all over the place. Anybody can play a guitar fantastic. Anybody can play keyboards. Anybody can get up there and sing and be fantastic and look good, but you will not survive in this industry unless your business portion is tight. And a lot of the organizations that I'm dealing with now, um, when we get to that part, when you ask me about them, I'll tell you a little bit more about them and how um, aspiring artists can get involved with that. But a lot of organizations are trying to help, especially younger artists, with things like that. Because with the day of AI music and make your voice sound like Shaka Khan or make your voice sound like whatever, and you release your record, you be famous. I hate to say it, but you got to have more than that kind of talent.
Mm,
You got to know how to do this pen to paper and
mm,
understand what's on paper and understand how to protect yourself and how to progress and have power and influence in the music industry. And I know we probably didn't want to go off into all that, but I felt like I had to say that, if that makes sense.
it makes sense, and we're gonna circle back around to that. Okay, all
Mhm.
right. So it's on you, Raj.
All right, homeboy. That's what happened when you become famous. Everybody want to pull on your coattail. You see, you
I
see,
wish I was famous. No, I
you
don't. No,
famous,
I don't. I don't wish I was famous. It's too much
you know,
problem.
dude. And so, but before we get to it, so how's mama? How's your daughter? How they doing?
Yeah, they doing fine. My daughter, she just got finished a stint with CDC, and now she's working with another organization now, doing a lot of great things. She has a PhD now, so yeah, good. My son, he's a regional manager for Verizon, so he's all over the United States, playing, doing this and that, and da 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 da. My wife's being a good German wife, and still doing what she does, and putting up with me.
That's work right there.
That's a task, huh?
That's an outcome right there. That's an outcome right there. But it's good, man. It's good to see you. It really is, man.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so I know you couldn't make up your mind by what military to be in, and so you was in three of them: the Marines, the Navy, and the Army.
Hmm.
What were the difference between the three militaries, and which one? I think I know the answer to that. Which one was your favorite?
Okay. Now, more so than let me touch on the differences between the three. And a lot of it comes back to me. Let me tell you why I say that. Because at each branch of the military, I was a different person.
Okay.
Okay. And let me explain, because, you reach different levels of maturity at each, I say at each hitch. We say at each hitch,
Right.
because, sometimes the Marine Corps bought certain things out of me that I needed. Okay. The Navy bought certain things out of me that I needed, And the Army damn should have brought things out of me that I needed, because the Army caught me in that cycle where I was basically mellowed out and more serious. The Navy and the Marine Corps, I was a lot more gung ho as a Marine. As a Navy, I was trying to find myself in a way, but still enjoy myself. If that makes sense to you, because of the different age groups and the maturity level as it was. As far as experience and experience levels, I would say I got the most out of the Army, because it caught me at that point where you had to say either do this or get off the pot,
Right.
that type of thing. And there's always people that are better and more manly and more tough than you are, because see, in other branches of the service, how do you say it? You're it. But then when you get into a more the older branch, that they're the ones who made it happen for the other ones,
Right.
which is
Right.
the Army. You find out that there's some serious dudes in this branch. There's some serious dudes in this branch.
Oh my God.
If that makes sense to y'all, y'all know what I mean.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Mhm.
So with
But
that being
each time I was always getting out for good.
okay.
And but every time I got to the point of getting ready to get out or get ready to talk reenlistment, I went home and I said, you know what, ain't nothing really happening here except lights and sirens, and you going back to the same thing. Because I know when I left one branch of service and then I came and joined the Army, I changed my sea bag into a duffel bag.
Right.
Because Marine Corps we use sea bags, Navy we use sea bags. We call them sea bags, not duffel bags.
Right.
I was stationed at Fort Meade for a while,
Mm.
and I got the opportunity to go TDY. I went TDY because I was a 54 Echo then. I went through what they call the Minuteman program. And the Minuteman program, if y'all remember, was for prior service people that we didn't have to go through a basic training per se. We had to go through a whatever you want to call it, to get acclimated to another branch of the military.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I was stationed at Fort Meade for a while. And by me being stationed at Fort Meade, I was living back at home amongst the same stuff that I had left. So, so it didn't make sense to me. So I think God was showing me that, you know what, you need to get on up out of here, bro. If that makes sense,
It makes sense.
And so that's when I had stayed Army, and the rest is history,
So I didn't know you was 54 Echo, because that's what I was.
Yeah. Because I went through Aberdeen and Edgewood at the time. And then after that, then of course they shipped me off everywhere else, because 54 Echoes, 54 Bravos, we were in every unit that there was.
That's right.
Nobody but us.
Everybody.
Supplies the same way. Supplies the same way. You'd be the only person there, and hey, yeah. And it's your room.
That supply job, I couldn't do that. When they used to do those inventories, I used to look at those supply sergeants. I was like, oh my God.
But you gotta have a supply sergeant, an NBC NCO, an armorer, and a cook. That's your best friend, right?
And your medic.
And your medic, bro.
That's right. You gotta have your medic. So with that, now when you came to us, you wasn't a chemical guy, were you? When you was with us?
Yep.
You were still chemical when we was at
Charlie Company.
Right. Cold steel, baby.
Yep. I was, in fact, I was 54 Bravo, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, because they switched it.
Yep, because they switched it from 54 Echo to 54 Bravo.
Yeah, because I started.
I was actually a Charlie also at the same time, but
smoke.
Yeah, but my primary was the Bravo.
Well, you know, if you was a 54 Echo, remember when they got rid of the smoke guys? Because McCray was a smoke guy. So when they
Yeah,
got rid
yeah,
of the smoke guys, they just automatically gave the chemical guys the
yep,
Charlie as a secondary.
yep, yep.
You know, they
And
already
that's what,
did that. You know, back that's to add to the 11 Bravo that they gave everybody. You know,
anyway, yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm looking at my stuff, so
Hmm.
yeah, but that's Bravo, and then I was a Bravo till 7, 8, and
So
once I
now I think they call them what, alphas, the 74 alphas now, or something like that. They took a
they're
whole,
74 alphas now.
yeah,
74
yeah,
alphas. Yeah, because I used to clown on them guys when I saw a major in Missouri. I said, I'm a real chemical guy. I was 54 Echo.
yeah, boy. 54 everything, you know.
That's right. Y'all don't know nothing about that.
They don't know
So
nothing about that.
with that being said, if I'm McCullen was your last hit, right?
Yeah. In fact, the schoolhouse.
Yeah.
After I left training brigade, we went up there to schoolhouse, and that's all they wrote.
Yeah. So when you was up at the schoolhouse, right, was you doing the operation thing or was you in
I was
truck?
doing operations, and I was doing some platform for a while.
Mm-hmm.
You know how it is when somebody's out, then they
Right,
call
right.
somebody that was qualified to go, and boom, 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 boom. So yeah, I did my cycles there, and I was on Down Street. What do you call it? Short. I was getting short then.
So you was up there with Sergeant Major Lyons when he became a regimental.
Yeah,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah. Hmm.
I like that dude. He's a little rough around the edges, but he used to crack me up. And he loved his drill songs too. Boy, he ain't
Man,
like nobody else does.
I remember some days with lines, boy.
Go
He
on and
ate
tell.
he ate me up one time. He ate me up one time in formation. Bro, I was like, okay, that'll work. Won't happen no more.
Yeah. He ate me up. You know how we were marching privates up there and singing them. You know how I used to do. We
Yeah,
would
yeah.
jam these, and we had blocked the parking lot. When you up at 84. So the instructors, they was behind anyway. They trying to come in park so they can get to the platform. And we sitting out there calling Caden and the soldiers rocking.
You
And I
had
give
him at
them credit.
you had him in mark time, did you?
Mark time. And you know what? I give him credit. He didn't come and blast me out in front of soldiers.
I hear you.
After I got there, fire from the right, column right.
Yeah.
When the last soldier went in, he said, because remember, he was our battalion. So
yeah.
He goes, he didn't even call me drill sergeant. Said, Parker. I turned around and said, yes, Sergeant Major. He said, go on up to my office. Go on up there. Go on up there. We need talk. And when I got up there, he closed that door, man. He lit me up. And I was a brand new E7. Then I'm like,
I hear you, man. Hey, look, you took that at parade rest and said,
I sure did.
Man, let me go change my pants now.
There you go. And but when he ate you up, he never let you leave on a negative. Because I remember the last thing he said,
positive too now,
Yeah, he was good. He said, you know what? He said, before you go, I want to tell you something. He said, you one of the best drill songs I ever saw. He said, but you messed up that time. You understand that? I was like, airborne Sergeant Major. He's like, good. Now get on down there with 40 other words. But he said, now get on down there with them soldiers. Don't let that happen again. But he was a good guy. So you did all that time in the military. You didn't go home. So let's talk about, I see you got the airborne thing back there too. I ain't want to say nothing, but it's staring in my face.
Yeah. We used to do a lot of RTEP evaluations and everything. And so that was one of those, here, take this on with you. Get your ass on out of here. That type of thing.
Oh my God.
But after I retired, we kind of like found a good church in the area. This was before they had closed the fort, because they closed everything down at Fort McKelvey. So we found a good church and ended up staying, because I was almost getting ready to go back home, Baltimore, but then I said, no, that ain't gonna work, because first of all, it's too expensive, because it's kind of not as expensive to live down here. But anyway, we found a good church. and then I found another life, you
Right.
know, and history after that. Yeah,
Well, it's
but
good.
this is a ghost town now down here, though. You know, it's totally different than when you were here.
Yeah, I know when we were there together,
Yeah,
Anderson was crowded.
yeah,
Going up down that main road,
yeah,
you try to get off, get a little bit lunch, get back, you ain't gonna
yeah,
make it.
yeah. And
But
they closed that mall down where y'all used to have to go down there and get your trainees and everything. You know.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember we used to go down there and do that run. Remember we would go down there and do that run at the mall.
yeah,
Oh my God, I didn't know they closed that down.
yeah.
You know,
A lot of it's closed, man. You know, it's just skeletons of it now. You know.
that's crazy. I
Yep.
can't believe that. I'm gonna have to take a trip down there. But I'm gonna turn you on over to Army, man, because me and you, we could be here all night.
I hear you. I hear you.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get away from all this reminiscing now. We're gonna get to the interview. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
That
So
is part of the interview.
I got to give a shout out to Reverend Henson Property. I don't know if he's in Kenya or whatever, but welcome to the show. And bro, it looks like you have a studio in the back, man.
Yeah.
Is that a studio?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, man. You are multi-talented. What are all the instruments that you play?
Well, guitars, keyboards, drums, vocals, you know, and that's the basics. What all you need, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you play in a band also, right?
Yep, yep, yep. And mostly, I try to do a lot more mentoring of younger musicians these days because I'm at the age now. I hate to say, you know, you're never too old to, you know,
Yeah,
continue moving. But I'm at the age now that going out to play all the time, 3 times a week, and you know, every time you turn around, lugging equipment and everything, and dealing with the public, you know, you kind of like want to say bye to that sometimes. You know, you just want to chill and do things like I write more now. I help other people more now. I do a lot more business stuff now, but I still keep my chops up playing enough with bands.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
If that makes sense, you know.
So now you had mentioned earlier, if someone wanted or needed to know the business,
Mm-hmm.
if you were to help someone, right, they need to know a little bit about the business, right? Perhaps they did know about the business. How could you use that to your advantage and get them to the next level, especially if it's someone who wants to come back into the fold and looking for a new label to come up under? How would you help cultivate that?
Okay. Um, First of all, they can feel free to get in contact me through any of my contact points. You know, my Facebook, my email. You have all the information. You can feel free to post it in the chats or whatever. They can text me and send me their information, and I will email them. But mostly, I don't want them to waste. I hate to say it. Don't waste my time and don't waste yours.
Mhm.
Um, don't waste anybody's time or waste yours unless you're serious about it. If you're just lollygagging and want to just dream,
Excuse me.
you're not ready for it yet. But that's the same thing. I don't want you to be the bull in the china shop either. You know, you just have to know how to approach people and don't let the first thing that comes out of your mouth, hey, listen to this, or I have this or I have that. I want you to do this for me. I build a relationship first. You have to build relationships because it's a competitive world out here. So to answer your question, I hope I'm answering your question. I don't want people to just, you know, to be thinking that, yeah, you contact me and I'll get you hooked up. It doesn't work like that. It's a relationship. If I'm not going to be able to bring you to my dinner table or let you meet my family or something like that, I really don't want to deal with you as a business person either.
Got you.
Does that make sense?
Makes a
Big
lot of
time.
Yeah,
So
makes a lot.
I hope I'm answering your question. If somebody wants to get in touch with me or whatever, I'm going to probably put them to the test first. And let me tell you what my test is. I want to see what your business executive summary and outline looks like. In other words, even if you are a writer, I want you to put that in words and express to me in words where you are now, where you want to go, and why you're the best candidate for that. If that makes sense, because remember now, this person is applying for a job. I hate to say it, you're applying for a job, and your
Yeah.
job that you're applying for is as a musician, as a writer, as a studio hired hand, as a road tour musician or whatever. Because I don't care how good you can play, but if you don't have that business head, you're going to cause me more problems than a little bit. And I'm going to find somebody that doesn't play as good as you, but has the business head and the heart. You
Hmm.
feel me?
Okay.
You feel me?
Yeah, that sounds good. That's good. Now, uh, there's rap, there's gospel, there's R&B, there's jazz. What do you feel most comfortable with? What sort of what is Thomas Van Dyke? What's
Hmm.
your style?
Smooth jazz R&B. But I have experience in writing and recording other genres too. But my heart and my best abilities are in smooth jazz R&B.
Okay, okay, awesome. Now, before I pass it back to Roger, tell everybody out there what does TDY mean? When you, yeah, what is
temporary a duty assignment, temporary away from your permanent duty station doing something else.
yes, my man. On you, right?
Temporary duty assignment. With all the music and stuff that you had, and did your inspiration, it was always you, or were you inspired by someone else growing up to, or did you answer that already? I missed it. It's been
Um,
inspired by somebody else to do
well,
the music thing.
well, of course, when I was coming up, there was always groups, especially in Baltimore where I was coming up. There was groups, soft tones, Frank and the Spindles, the Whatnots. I mean, I come from those areas and eras like that. So of course, you know, those kind of groups inspired me. Um, and but basically, my inspirations and my hard work ethics, as far as music is concerned, when I came in the military, I figured out that I'm not going to always be able to find musicians. So I had to become self contained and know how to express myself with various other instruments if I'm going to survive this thing. So, the average person that's in the military that is a musician plays multiple instruments. And the reason why is because sometimes we just can't go up to the rec center and find somebody that plays the missing instrument. So we have to double up sometimes. And so like that becomes a habit that you start learning to play guitar, the keyboards or whatever, so that way you can fall in line. Uh, so that's where my inspiration comes. It's out of survival a lot of times. You have to do this.
So with all the music and stuff you had around the house, none of your children decide to go there. I mean, they're doing great, but none of them
I
decide or
tried. I tried, man. I tried. They don't want to act right, you know.
they want to.
They want to act right, They give it a
Yeah.
try. Then kids sometimes if you try to guide them this way, sometimes they want to go that way instead.
Yeah, but
Shoot.
well, everybody got to find their own path. Armin and I went to high school together. He was a great football player, and his son is a great football player. But that's a rarity. I think all his sons were good football players, but that's a rarity because when you look at people like Michael Jordan, both his sons was duds on the basketball court.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then you got LeBron, but he pulled strings for his son, who wasn't that good a player, if you ask me, on the court. And with
Right.
you saw that your children wanted to go another way, and instead of you forcing them to come your way, you
Right.
allow them to find themselves and support them, and that says a lot about what kind of man you are. That's
Right.
that's really good, to do that.
Plus, my wife got to the point where she says, if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it. So I ain't gonna fight her.
Mama gonna put the law down when it comes to them babies. Come to them babies, mama gonna put the law down.
Yeah.
So on the music side of the house, you have a lot of things going on. But what do the future musically hold for Thomas Van Dyke?
I think, and I don't want to do this because I'm getting up there in the age thing, but I think the future holds for me more of mentoring others and helping them achieve what they want.
Okay.
That's more important to me now because that's where you leave your legacy.
Right.
Hey, you want to leave a legacy, then you speak into somebody else. You put a seed into somebody else. You never know who may end up being the next Isaac Hayes or Barry White, or some fantastic simply because you believed in them. So, and that's why I again talk about it's important that if you want to link up with me, I'm going to put you to the test about the business
Right.
part.
I got you.
Okay. Because anybody can sing and rap. I mean, I did a test one day, and you probably don't remember, you probably don't know about this, drill sergeant. But so me and Michael Brown. I don't know if you remember Drill Sergeant Brown. He used to be over
Yeah, I
there.
remember from Baltimore, our homeboy.
Big, square head,
Yeah,
we did a test one day on some privates. One day y'all was out in the field and we had some holdbacks. How they sit behind the desk, because they blind, cripple, or crazy. And I told Joe son Brad, I said, look, I bet you I can hold this up and tell a private to rap on this, and I bet you they can rap 4 lines, they can rap 4 paragraphs. And he said, no. I said, watch it. So I went out to the desk one day and I said, all right, Private Joe Schmuck, rap. Give me a rap about this right here. He read it and he was like, blah, 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 blah. Now, and then I said, now give me your second general order. He couldn't. So that
oh my God.
and I said, now your drills, I don't want to know that you can rap but you don't know your second general order, boy. But yeah, I thought that was so funny, but that's to make a long story short, that anybody can rap about anything, but clean your raps up. Don't come to me and ask me to help you out if you got dirty raps and you talking about women this and women that, give me some knowledge. And, but a lot of them say, well, Van Dyke, you're old school, but that's not what I say. Well, I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for knowledge. I'm looking for something that represents, you know what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
Same thing with a lot of the Christian, but that's another story. Maybe we can talk about Christian entertainment industry versus secular, because I got a whole bunch of stuff I can talk to you about that too, because I deal with that too. But anyway, to answer your question, I hope I did.
You did. I'm passing you over to Armin now.
That's good. Brother Van Dyke.
Yes, sir.
All right. Talk to us about your karate skills. When did you decide you wanted to learn And it looked like you excel pretty much in karate.
Well, oh man, shoot. Like I said, when everybody else was doing baseball and football,
Uh,
I was that guy that was out there doing music and martial arts, even back in Baltimore, you know.
yeah, yeah,
And as I was traveling around in the military, I hooked up with different other martial artists. And, we would go up to the rec centers or whatever, because, the military places that you go a lot of times is gyms and recreation centers, or
Right.
you go up to, somebody's room,
mhm,
and we move the beds over the sides and, clear the room out. And then we work on our katas and our forms and different, da 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 da,
yeah,
So that was one of the things that I just kept up. I kept that up through life. And then again, shared the experiences and knowledge with
yeah.
others. But I kept it on the low because you'd be surprised how many haters are even in the military. You
Mhm.
know, they don't want to see somebody that may possibly be better. So just keep your stuff low. You know, you don't everybody don't need to know everything about you because sometimes they use that for bullets,
Yeah,
you know?
that's good.
So a lot of things about me I just never talked about, even when I was in the army.
Mhm.
Look on you want to know something? Look on my 2015. If you want to know something, ask me personally. But I'm so discernible. I can tell if you're trying to ask me because of jealousy or because you want to see how I rank up with you and all this stuff.
That's good.
I mean, so I hope that answers your question.
That's good. That's good. You did great job, man. Great job. Tell us about Thomas Van Dyke, the person. We went through a plethora of information here. Tell us about Thomas Van Dyke, the person. What kind of legacy do you want to leave?
I want people to, I would love for people to say, I wish I had got more information from him before he left.
Mm,
Because I want to leave empty. I don't want to leave full or half full. I want to leave empty.
yeah.
I really believe in raising and training your competition, even though it may hurt you in the long run. I really believe in training your competition. Make somebody better than you
Mm,
through what you've seeded into them, but know when to stop feeding them. If that makes
That's
sense. You got
yeah.
to
That's,
know. So
yeah.
that's what I want people to say. I wish I had got more information from them.
When you said leave empty, there's a brother. All right, we're gonna start a new show, and that new show is gonna be on a different day. It's gonna be sports, politics, and current events. And this brother that's gonna be one of the hosts, he always says, "Leave empty." And he was just here recently. I said, "Brother, what does that mean?" And you know what? What you just got through saying is what he said.
Hmm.
And that's just amazing, bro. That's just amazing. I like that. Roger, do you have anything else you want to say to brother Van Dyke?
yeah, man. I need that private name. I got my hand
Oh, good.
on the wall. I go on. No, I'm just joking, man. Man, I was reading over your. Well, I already knew a lot of this stuff, but I mean, you just done a plethora of things with your life, man. And I'm so proud to call you my homeboy. It was an honor, one of my highest honors to serve with you, because you knew young Staff Sergeant Parker. You knew him, and you watch him grow, you know, and be way before he became
Yep.
CSM Parker.
Yep.
But you was there and you helped us all because you was older than everybody else. So
Yeah.
I remember coming to the office and asking you things, especially when first time used to get on my nerves. I come in your office and say, homeboy, he getting on my nerves, man. What's going on with this thing? And you always had a calm head, you
Yeah.
know. You know, everybody came to you and asked you, you was our mentor. And I really appreciate you. You know.
Well,
Oh
let,
yeah,
let, let me say this real
go
quick.
ahead. Go ahead.
Um, um, I believe that soldiers like you and Brother Arman were the final breed of real deal. I know we got some good ones out there now, but real deal, you know. And
Mhm.
I want to salute y'all, bro. You know.
I appreciate that. But we had mentors like you to put, because I remember one time I was going off on this private in the hallway. You came out there and said, hey, Drill, let me talk to you.
Yeah.
You said, you can't do that. But, you know, and I needed that because I forgot what he did. But I'm really lit into that boy, and I was cussing everything. You said, because remember how you had your window? You tapped on the window, I turned around. He said, come here, Drew, I need to talk to you. You know, but it's all good, though, man. Oh, yeah, before I go turn it over to Armin, somebody texted me today and told me to tell you hi. First song retired Leanne West. She in Hawaii. She told me to tell
What?
you, yeah,
Where is West at?
in Hawaii. She
Get
still
out
in
of
Hawaii. She
Dodge.
retired over there. Told me to tell you hi.
Man, tell her I said, hey, the next time you ever talk to her too, man.
Yeah, what I'm gonna do is get she hit me on it. I looked at the phone, I was like 808. I knew it was Hawaii, you know, and it's still country. You know how she talk.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, we'll get the information. It's all right that I give your number to her.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And Facebook page and all that, you know,
Yeah.
period, you know.
Yeah, I forgot what she said her Facebook was. It's not Leanne, it's something else. But we're gonna go on and let you go, man. Thank you for coming on the show. And God bless you, man. I love you. And we're gonna stay in contact with each like we always do anyway. And
Thank you, brother Arman.
yeah,
Peace,
bro.
bro.
Turn it back over to Armin. I'm just out.
Hey, before you go, man, because we're gonna let you leave the last word tonight. But we're gonna talk about our guest next week. This is the book. If you haven't gotten it, When We Were Them, written by Apostle Antonio Holman. You know, I've got the book. I'm gonna dissect the book, and when he comes on, we're gonna talk about some of the chapters. And what caused him to want to write about this. It was very informative. If you haven't gotten it, like I said, When We Were Them, you want to get this book. Okay. Uh, After him, we're gonna have the #1 tailgater at the Commanders football game, which is Brother Clyde. Man, he's gonna be on the show. You know, he's been on the news. They always at his tailgate parties. Brother is really serious. I'm telling you. You know, so you wanna, and if you wanna, Deja, put our website up, Deja. If you want to keep current, with what's going on with the Legends of the Future show, visit our website. You know, it's very informative, and you can also purchase some merchandise from our website. You know, also, uh, I maybe sound like a preacher or a pastor here, but you know, it does cost it to give you the very best each week. So we are looking for donors or a sponsor to help with the show. Now, we also want you to decide, you viewers, decide for our upcoming, whether it's an event, whether it's going to be a cruise or whatever it is you want us to have once we reach this milestone that we are closing in on. All right. Brother Van Dyke, what encouraging word would you like to leave for everyone out there watching?
I think the encouraging words that I would like to leave everybody with, I'd like to target the young crew, because us older crew, we should already know this. But young crew, young viewers out there, find yourself somebody in the mature bracket like these gentlemen right here and soak them for knowledge. soak them for knowledge.
Wow, that's awesome. What else can be said? Thank you for being on the show tonight, bro. Thank you for opening yourself up and being transparent. Thank you for that. And don't be a stranger.
All right, y'all not be a stranger either, bro.
No, we won't. Peace, homie.
Okay, bye-bye.
Sweet.